plan as the new government. They're calling it the new dawn, of course. And this is something that the Zambian people are very anxious and curious and very expectant from at the side. Now, of course, in the studio, I am joined by, of course, Mwansa, content creator of I Stand with Zambia, which is, of course, located on YouTube. You particularly make content, investigative content, by the way, on national issues. And this is the content that you share with the many, not only Zambians, but also the entire region, the entire world. And of course, you are also a town planner.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, quite amazing. And today now it's governance.
I know.
And I'm excited because I know that you are vested in the governance space.
Yes.
And some of your content really focus on addressing issues in the governance space, especially those issues that are not frequently talked about by many people.
Yes.
Yeah, just take us a bit before I dive into what you picked from the speech which was delivered by the president when he was opening Parliament.
Tell you
about some of the work that you do, especially investigative work that you do.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I Stand with Zambia promotes good governance, protecting our national identity, and also preserving our national and natural resources. So I tell the Zambian stories, as Indanji has said. I do all those things by telling the Zambian stories through documentary styles, investigative journalism, just searching for information on things that are important to our country and to our identity.
Yeah. Now, I know those are key issues,
yes.
And I love the fact that you have made mention so that we can get it on record, okay. Because I might not just be saying that she works on content that aims and focuses on governance issues. Now you have just preempted it so people now know. Now moving forward, yes. If you followed the clip that I played you, and I'll pick one item there of of course, for Hon Nakachinda particularly. He did say something in regards to the new government breaching the constitution. And I'm going to drive you to article number 92 of our Zambian Constitution, in particular in relation to the new ministries which have been introduced. Right. That's the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise, as well as the green, the green economy and environment, as well as the technology ministry there. So now the question and the concern that the Zambian people are that the president breached the law, because only Parliament under Article 92 is mandated to actually approve and disapprove if there's a ministry that they want to remove, unlike where you just introduce a ministry without Parliament. What are some of your commentary on that particular issue?
I mean, it's definitely, sometimes things that are in the Constitution, sometimes they don't make sense in practicality. Sometimes you have situations like that. So I don't know personally why the president decided to go against that. Maybe because we're in such a mess as a country that because weren't people complaining that we don't, that you're taking too long to tell us who your people are? So maybe he just, and you know how he says, we are in a hurry. But that still doesn't mean you breach the Constitution, but I'm sure he has a rational explanation as to why he felt it was necessary to swear them in. However, the current Constitution does lay it clear in black and white that there is an order in which things need to be done. And I did hear Mr. John Sangwa say that he might have to redo the swearing in again. There's another commentator on Facebook. He's a prominent Zambian lawyer in Canada, Elias Munsha. He was of the view that, yes, he did it, but it's not detrimental. But then people are thinking, well, if he can do this, he can do more. So there is a debate. Let's see how the president is going to rectify this. But there definitely was an error made. Clear.
Speaking about rectifying, this is something, I know you followed the speech that you were delivering, and it did not even touch this part particularly because there's been a concern from the general public. During his speech, he never touched the issue of saying, no, I did breach the law, therefore there should be a right. But what he did make mention is the fact that these ministries which have been introduced are key ministries. Absolutely. And of course we agree, they are very key ministries. Because if we're going to talk about science and technology, we're talking about research. We're now creating even vaccines. We're now creating, in the transport sector, we're trying to also create a transport system that can also support the now period.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a more effective way. Now, And I know for a fact that you as a town planner, besides content creating, you're also a town planner.
Yes.
And the president did make mention of energy, and in particular, energy when it comes to planning of a city or planning of a town, it's very crucial.
Yes.
Why is that so very important?
Because it makes the town more sustainable, whereas maybe you would be using a lot of funding. It helps with the economy. It helps the city channel money in areas that are most needed, mostly maybe social things. So whereas you're spending so much money on energy infrastructure, now that you're relying on solar or all these other areas, you can now focus money on different kinds of infrastructure programs, social programs. So I think what he said has been really, really thought out. There are so many benefits that will come out of this, and we're yet to see them. But that is why it's important to a city to have a sustainable energy source, so that the city can have more money in order to channel it to other places.
Is it something that is sustainable now? Do you think, because I'm relating to other previous regimes.
Yes.
It has been a struggle in sustaining the energy sector, and it has contributed greatly. And I know, of course, they might have different policies around energy
Yes.
that can work. But in your own viewpoint, because I know you are vested also in planning, so I'm taking this angle. Do you think it's something that is realistic?
Absolutely.
In the 5-year term?
Absolutely. And I'm talking like within the next year, we could actually see things happening. The reason why other administrations probably didn't do it, you know what they call political will? There just wasn't the political will. I mean, I know of people from the United Kingdom or from the diaspora who wanted to invest in solar energy in this country. Zambians who want to come back, but then when they presented their ideas to whoever the ministries, there was so much politics involved. There was so much, give me this, give me that, and people were they were brokenhearted because they want to serve their country. But then they were stopped because of the corruption. And I'm very happy to know that President Hichilema has said there's a zero tolerance to corruption. So yeah, that's what I would say there.
Of course, in Zambia, it's known for a fact ZESCO has the monopoly over energy in the country. And of course, the environment has not been friendly for all private investors to come in with different alternative energy sources. And I'm looking at the new government. Probably they also will rely on that very parastatal company. Now, the question would be now, and I mean that in terms of revenue as well, not just only providing energy, because I'm relating to the previous regime. That was the case. Okay. That was the case, and so much politics was involved also in that very company. Yeah. Now, the question is the new government now. What do you think could be the direction in making sure that we don't have a monopoly type of a company that is supplying energy? Because if we're going to go green, there's need to bring in private investors to come and invest in the green energy sector.
Yeah, and the good thing about the private investor is that investor could be a Zambian. Doesn't have to be a foreigner. So I'm really excited about that.
And it's good that you mentioned that.
Right? Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. And ZESCO is going to, that monopoly is going to be broken. Because we have a president who is an enterprise president. You have a president who, all through his speech, he kept on talking about how all these things connect to the economy and how he wants to empower the Zambian first. Local empowerment. And then he spreads it out to the region and the rest of the world. So ZESCO is definitely going to be broken up for good reason. Because we have other sources of energy that we can use, and we have so many skilled Zambians in this country. Look at the minister of he's an engineer. One of the new ministries. He's an engineer. I can't remember which one he's heading. Do you remember the new? He is an engineer, and he has declared his assets on Facebook already, so that nobody comes and says he got rich because he became a minister. People like that, engineers who are now ministers. We have educated, well-skilled people in this country, but the president understands that we can do more than this, because we have so many unemployed graduates right now who are skilled but don't have an opportunity to work. So, yeah.
Speaking about graduates, That's another very important aspect. And the
Yeah.
president did make mention to say that he wants to work very hard to make sure that even people in rural areas
Yeah.
have access to not only education but quality education.
Yes.
And I don't want to depict from where you're saying. There's a challenge that he posed about our education system
Yeah.
not being fit for our current situation.
Absolutely.
And that's the reason why you're finding a lot of people being redundant in our society,
Yes.
not doing anything, just relying on or fighting for one job. You have
I know.
50,000 people.
Yeah.
Maybe where do you think could be the direction? I know the president did give his the direction as the government, but from your perspective,
Yes.
in terms of this, do you think this is the welcome move, and what could be the recommendation to make this achievable?
Well, it's an absolutely welcome move. It is on time. It is overdue. We should have had this a long, long time ago. And I think, I don't know how, I perceive them going into these forgotten areas, like these towns along the line of rail or off of the line of rail. I think they are going to make sure that they go into those deep bush areas, that probably nobody really knows about, so that we begin to bring them out from the inside of Zambia, not just focusing on the main towns, Petauke, Lusaka, Solwezi, but some of these towns that like you and I probably can't even pronounce, but they exist. I think they're going to go deep into those areas, prioritize those people, so that they can be able to give us a report to say, we have targeted this region and that region and that region. And I think that's how I would perceive one of the ways that they're going to implement it. I don't know exactly how, but I think that's how they're going to get those people who are poorer in society to be able to have a quality education that the government is going to fund.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's funny you asked me about that, because I was talking to one of our colleagues earlier, and he was asking me about the Zambian. He said I heard that the British have had a hand in Zambia's education, and I reminded him, giving you an I Stand with Zambia history moment here, that when we got independence, there were only about 1,000 or so educated Africans, but then there were only less than 100 Zambian graduates. And during the colonial time, they were like, maybe, for example, I'm just paraphrasing, 160,000 black Africans in northern Rhodesia. But the colonial government would allocate more money to the thousands of white settlers more than the blacks, because it wasn't in their interest to educate the black people. And that's why when Zambia got independence, Kaunda rushed to create the University of Zambia, Evelyn Hahn, putting schools in every single district, because there were no schools. My father lived in Serenge, and he used to go to school in Choma. And I said, Dad, why did you go to school so far away? He said, oh, I used to get the train, and we used to have to sit at the back as black people, because we couldn't sit in the front. And I said, but why did you go to school so far away? Me, I'm thinking like, the way it is now.
Yeah.
And he said, because back then we just did not have schools. There were no schools for black people. So, and the schools that were there were run by the missionaries. And that quality, that education, speaking about quality education, it was very, very minimal. And I think the first technical school that we had in Zambia was Munali, the first trade school, I think, where they were teaching skills that you can use in the workplace. And I think also Hodgkins, which became David Kaunda's school. Just a little background on Zambian history.
Yeah, no, I get you. As we are winding up,
Sure.
I have two questions that I want you to address for me and help me just analyze a bit.
Sure.
The aspect of the president where he made mention to say that people like him don't have to have their children get a bursary to access education. Could that be the trend that we usually see in our community, where you have leaders give their children bursaries instead of giving the poorest person the bursary? Those people really need the bursary.
Yes, unfortunately, in Danji, that has happened, and the big C word, corruption.
Yeah. The last question: tourism and arts.
Yes.
Tourism, he said, he has got the potential to contribute to revenue to the country. You have lived in the diaspora before, and you know the potential that Zambia can have on the international scale. And the president did clearly indicate that this sector has got potential.
Yes.
What do you think could be the direction? And he said our culture, our traditional ceremony could be prioritize to make sure that we
Yes.
contribute. But what do you think we could do more to explore tourism to generate revenue?
That's an excellent question, Ndanji. And I'll tell you why. Because when I was in the diaspora, I remember seeing this beautiful waterfall in Western Province somewhere. And it's really rocky. It's very different from Victoria Falls. It has its own beauty. And I said, where is this place? I've never heard of this. What is this waterfall? And I said, and I actually sent an email to the tourist board to say, you know, I'm a town planner. Let's work together so we can develop this area. We don't have to focus so much on Livingston. Never heard back from them. But I do like what the president said about promoting local tourism, because I know there are some other water features, like in the northern province. Somebody was telling me, or is it in Luo Pula, that there's just no investment there. Everyone just focuses on Livingston. But local tourism is so important. We don't have to go to South Africa or to other countries in order to have a holiday. I think it's important that we promote national, local tourism so that, you know, even socially, it helps families. If you're stressed on the job, you go away for a couple of days in a lodge, and, you know, it's good. It's actually healthy to go on vacation. And I think Zambia has a lot to offer. I remember during the Kenneth Kawunda's funeral, his daughter said, we used to go for holidays in Zambia. We never went abroad for holidays as a family. And she said that our father taught us all the names of animals in Bemba. And I was just like, wow. That is so cool.
Well, that's a conversation we can definitely dive into in a more detailed way.
Yeah, so the president is on the right path,
Yeah.
Ndanji. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming through.
You are so
That's
welcome.
been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, there you had it. That was Mwansa Kunda, of course, content creator. I stand with Zambia, of course. If you want to find out what the content that she does, of course, you can visit the YouTube. Just get to see. Of course, it's got a patriotism aspect to it, very keenly, very acutely. Get to look at those particular information. Well, of course, later on this program, of course, I'm going to be featuring, of course, President of the Third Liberation Movement, Roosevelt Tonga, as we're going to be talking about some of the key elements that the president did make mention. And one of them, of course, is good governance and also providing an enabling environment for other opposition leaders to participate in the democracy of this great nation. We'll be right back shortly.